will begin with an interesting question. Have you heard about the Korean beauty brand COSRX? It's with its very viral, famous, made recent.
Yes.
Now, have you wondered how having such easy access to a brand that has become famous all over the world? Or have you ever stopped to consider the human effort behind your online shopping experience? Beyond the tech magic of order processing lies a complex world, especially when commerce transcends borders. From booking shipping containers to handling customs and navigating the unpredictable pricing roller coaster, it's all more intricate than it seems. Now throw in the curveball of COVID-19, which showed us how quickly things can grind to a halt with the supply chain disruptions. And you get a picture of the challenges and opportunities we face in global e-commerce today. Now let's delve deeper into this captivating subject with our distinguished guest for today, Mohit Gadam. Welcome to XLRI, sir. We are honored to have you with us today. With over 9 years of expertise, Mohit has been instrumental in fostering exponential growth for brands across 7 countries. His strategic prowess, augmented by deep understanding of cross-border commerce, has not only shaped the trajectories of million-dollar enterprises, but has also fostered successful collaborations with industry giants such as Amazon, Walmart, eBay, and Flipkart. As the Chief Operating Officer at Asidius Global Inc., Mohit exemplifies leadership in navigating the e-commerce landscape, achieving remarkable growth and leveraging advanced data analytics. His educational foundation from IIM Kozhikode, combined with certification in Six Sigma and Amazon advertisements, underscores his commitment to excellence and innovation. Join us in gaining invaluable knowledge from his journey in revolutionizing e-commerce and DTC strategies. I would now like to invite Professor Sarangi to extend a warm welcome to our guest in a token of our appreciation. Professor, and now I would like to invite my colleagues Shalini and Meetu to please take forward the discussion. Thank you. Welcome, Mohit.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I hope you guys are not busy after the lunch. Food was amazing, of course, but we'll have some nice. I'll try and keep this as a chat rather than a lecture. I would want to have a conversation with all of you guys to understand what is your take on the industry rather than listening from me. And then I'll try and add 2 cents of mine to overall knowledge for everyone's betterment of understanding about the whole process of how we shop online on our phone, but then how does the rest of the world behind that works. Thank you.
So, keeping it more candid, could we begin by understanding, and since it's evident that you've had a significant impact on multiple brands, could you walk us through about your journey behind the success?
So, I try and be as brief as I can on this one. After I got graduated out, I started working with a company which was started by my friend in the US market. They were based in Texas, and I used to be based in Texas and Mumbai both. We were trying to resell consumer electronic products on Amazon, Walmart. That's how I got introduced as the first instance to e-commerce. It was intriguing enough because there were 2 people in the office in the company, one me and one the owner. There was no one else. And then we built that company over a period of 2-3 years. We got to a good $100 million scale. We were selling a bunch of products in Mexico, Canada, and America. But then we were stagnant for like 2 quarters, and then we figured out that we need to go to more markets. You can't sell more telephones and headphones and headsets in the US and Canada. We have exhausted whatever we could. And that's when I started to try and sell in Europe, I was in Mumbai, so I wanted to always have a nice fancy Jabra headset. This is 8 years back. You never had Jabra, Plantronics or JBL like brands in India at that point of time. So I wanted to bring those products to India. That was my first exposure to problem statement, if I have to put it that way. That cross-border e-commerce is actually a problem which is unsolvable. It felt unsolvable at that point of time at least. We spent $500,000 to pack some products, send it to Mumbai, and they never reached Mumbai. And then we figured out that this actually is a problem. So we did another experiment. We spent another $500 and we sent something to UK. We said we'll sell it in UK, if not India, maybe UK and Europe is easier. But then we figured out same problem there. The customs officer said you don't have this labeling, you don't have Spanish written on your product, you don't have German written on your product, this is not allowed to be imported, it will go back to US or it will get discarded. So that's when the real roadblock happened, and then there was an event in Vegas when I met my founder. She was doing something else in a different industry rather. But the problem was same. She was trying to sell health supplements outside of the US, in Canada and Mexico. And she had her own brand of health supplements and she was not able to. That's how the conversation struck between both of us. We said, okay, let's come down to a table, sit down and figure out what we can do about it. We sat down, had a chat, and then we decided that we'll start a company to solve this as a problem. 6 months down the line, we both exited our existing roles, businesses, and that's how Asidus was essentially born. The goal is simple, that it was the simple goal 5.5 years back, it is still the same for us. We are trying to solve a basic problem which exists in the market even today, which is brands who want to go to different markets. Apart from their home markets, we are trying to take them to that different geographies, but only through an e-commerce medium, which is the cheapest possible medium, because everyone has been through this journey by now and everyone knows that doing direct to consumer business is a lot more scalable, a lot more easier, and also quite experimental. If you fail only with a small amount of money. But if you go in retail, you fail with a lot more impact on your P&L. So that's what we've been doing. We work with around 110 brands as we speak, including the giants like Unilever's and Daburs and Himalayas from India now. We also work with a lot of American companies. Has anyone heard of a brand called as Goli? Goli is a vada pav in India, but Goli is a $9 billion company somewhere else in the other part of the world. Goli is hardly 100 billion maybe selling vada pavs, but I'm a fan of Goli, but I like to hear Goli, but this is not the same Goli. So in US, there's a brand called as Goli gummies. They were the first pioneer brand in the world who brought gummies, especially for people who have, in American, European cultures, weight loss is a situation. It is a big thing to sell, no matter what you want to say, you like it, you say it is a shameful thing or not, but that's the reality. People like to buy products which help with weight loss. So they came up with the world's first apple cider vinegar gummies. As of today, they are across the world. They do $6.5 billion of revenue. This is not valuation, this is revenue. They sell actually $6 billion worth of gummies across the world. That's one of the portfolio companies so that was kind of the second or third client that we knocked the door on. And we were too small for them. They said, guys, we'll give you one chance, we'll give you 500 units of product and we'll give you eBay as a channel. Sell that 530 days. If you are able to sell it, come back to us. If you are not, then don't come back to us. Fortunately, we were able to sell 500 bottles of gummies on eBay, and not just sell, I mean discounting and sell. We sold it at the standard $19.99 price, and that's how we onboarded that client. But yeah, that's the kind of mix. Our current portfolio companies primarily focus on health, personal care, beauty. That's the segment of business that we are in. We are getting into electronics. We started doing consumer electronics last year, but still 80% of the business is on health, personal care, and beauty. Anyone here knows why health, personal care and beauty you must have chosen? Any wild guesses that you can make?
High profit margins. High profit margins.
Consumer segment is huge.
High gross margin is the one point that I picked up. Other one? Easier?
Less custom. Logistics are easier.
Perfect. Second good point. Easy logistics. Do you want to tell more about how does the easy logistics work here and why? What are you comparing this easy logistics?
Value per SKU is much higher.
Perfect. Right.
Weight is also lesser.
Perfect. Absolutely bang on right there. Any other pointer?
The regulations not as stringent as say for example pharma or something.
Regulation is the worst part for beauty, personal care and cosmetics. There are easier categories in regulation which do not even require approvals. Consumer electronics for that matter. If you are manufacturing a phone in China or a headphone in China and then you are importing that into US, the customs officer will ask you to pay 7% duty, no more questions asked. They will not even open your box and check what is inside actually if there is a headphone or not. But if you import a shampoo in US, you will have to present probably 25-30 documents at the port of landing.
Guaranteed 5% retrieval.
Correct. And even after that, there's a chance of that shipment getting rejected 50%. Because they will say you have written something, conditions of use, which is not in American English. It is in some other one, so please take it back. So cosmetics, no for import. But we still crack it today. We know how to crack it now that fortunately we have been able to figure that out. Any other possible reason?
Growing awareness in this particular segment across the world.
Large
In the
Large consumer.
Yeah, in the US it was there, now it is in India also. It has picked up. Like gummies is easily selling on Amazon on different brands like Man Matters and other.
Users of this product replenish them regularly.
Absolutely. That's the final piece of the puzzle, which is the most important one. हिंदी में ना एक कहावत है रोटी कपड़ा और मकान वैसी उसका एक एक्सटेंशन वर्जन भी है 21st century which is everyone needs personal care products in their house and no matter what you will always buy it repetitively so your CAC in a marketing language is the lowest possible that you can get and the second advantage from a supply chain perspective or running an e-commerce company perspective is it is not returnable once you commit to it you commit to it. You go on Amazon, Myntra, Nykaa, anywhere, buy a lipstick and then say I don't want it. Unfortunately, you can't return it back. You have to keep it. You buy a shampoo and you tell them I don't want the shampoo, you can't send it back. You have to keep it. So my reverse logistics cost is zero. Which means once I make a sale, all the profit that I have made is my final profit. But when you go to the other categories in e-commerce, how many of you here buy apparel online? Raise your hand. How many of you return it back frequently? Almost the same people who are buying it are returning it. Okay, let's put it in a different way. When you buy a t-shirt or a jeans online, let's say Myntra or Ajio, before the package reaches your hand, how many people touch the package? Wild guess.
50.
6.
10. 20.
Nearby. Okay, you're getting near there.
Depends how many centers, warehouses in passing.
I'm saying an average, a weighted average. Let's say the industry weighted average for now.
15. 20.
17. 15 to 17 is the weighted average, that's the range. So every package that comes to you is touched by 15 or 17 people who will make 1 rupee at least out of it, let's assume, as a base value for that. It will be more than that, but let's, for a hypothetical purpose, let's say 1 rupee per touch point is what the cost is. Unfortunately, you don't like the jeans or you don't like the color or the fit. You send it back. The number of touch points now from 15 becomes 90 or 20 or 22 because there are more QCs, there are more checks and there are more processes that go into it. So the cost that is incurred, not by you of course, but by someone else is what makes the problem in the industry. But it is still the most successful category online and the reason is volume. A simple maths around that is if you are selling 100 units, you will be making a huge negative bottom line at the P&L level. But if you are selling 100,000 units, possibly you will get to a break even. Get to a crore units, you will get to a healthy profit. But in personal care, you sell 1 unit or you sell 100,000 or a crore, you will still make money profitable on day 1, no matter what. And the customer loyalty will never change. So that was the baseline of why we chose this as a category, because repeat, all those factors are all perfect checkboxes for starting business. You don't have to raise capital, you don't have to go to VCs, ask for money, and you can still be profitable on day one onwards and still use that same money to rotate and grow your business. And as of today also in our cross-border piece, I think 80% of our revenue is within this bracket of health, personal care and beauty. We are wanting to diversify. Of course, the next step that we have taken now is electronics, but it's a conscious call to take electronics. Let's look at some stats, for example. What should be the return percentage globally for online sales of apparel, footwear and apparel? Let's combine both of it.
35%. 30.
Closer, we are getting closer. 43%, 43% of the packages come back. Which is the next best category after that? Or the highest return? Apparel, everyone knows apparel, footwear is the highest return. What is the next one after that? What should be the return ratio?
25 to 30. 25 to 30.
Can anyone think of it being a single digit number? Possible to be single digit? It's 9.5% only. Because the commitment that the customer is making with consumer electronics is normally very high. Because either the values are high or the exposure to the product and brand is very high. You wouldn't buy a Bluetooth headphone without you actually needing it. You wouldn't buy it for the fun of, because I saw an Instagram ad, अच्छा दिख रहा है, खरीद के देखने क्या होता है, is not the psychology around it. But with apparel or shoes, unfortunately that's the psychology. Jeans का कलर अच्छा है, add to cart, but जब आया तो faded blue है वापस कर देते. Because it's easy to do that, so it goes back. Electronics में नहीं होता है. You buy a charging cable. Even if you don't need it, you will keep it in your drawer. Maybe पहला वाला खराब हो जाएगा तो second वाला use करो. That's the philosophy around it, because sometimes the ticket value is low, or sometimes the requirement for it in the future is there. So consumer psychology is the factor for all of this return percentages, and that's why the next best pick for us was to go into electronics, because size of the category is the largest in the world. It sells the most on online platform, and it has the healthy return percentage which you can manage. Yeah.
And considering that you have a diverse experience across countries and platforms, is there a specific cross-border e-commerce initiative that you've been most impressed with, and the reasons?
So I would say there are multiple programs that are run by multiple companies in the cross-border space. Some are solving some different problems, some are solving some other set of problems. To be precise, everyone has heard of Maersk. They are the shipping giants in the world. So Maersk has a separate division inside their company now, which is only catering to e-commerce needs. That was a very good experiment that happened a few years back, which was very interesting, because when Maersk started to focus on e-commerce, that showed the potential that is there out for this industry to grow. So they are only and only making a specific quota of containers available for e-commerce brands who want to sell on websites, D2C stores, Shopify stores, Amazon or Flipkart or eBay and Walmart. If you go in a regular situation and you go out there to a freight agent and you say, I want a container to send stuff from, say, Mumbai to US, it's going to take you 45 days to find a container. But then you reach out to Maersk and you say that I'm selling this stocks only on Amazon or Walmart in US and I want a container, they'll give it to you in 10 days. So that's kind of an initiative which I'm very impressed about, and there are more that are coming out there in the market. A lot of the companies are focusing on the cross-border piece and solving different levels. There are companies now who only do compliance work, which is the nightmare problem. There's a company in UAE, they are based in Qatar and UAE, it's called as SGS. They are a 3,000 people organization, and the only work that they offer to the market is compliance and regulatory affairs. That's the only job that they do. So they work with brands, companies like Unilever and P&Gs, and they essentially tell them to sell product from one geography to the other, what is required, how do you design your label, what is the language, translation and all of that. And I don't know, there are 3,000 people just doing that itself is a good story to tell that there is a lot of more potential out there in the market to do more and more, and there will be more players who will come in the future.
Mohit, now like you mentioned about how cross borders you had this regulatory challenges and all of that. What I want to understand is that building trust in a new market is very important. So how have you navigated through that, and also how have you what are the strategies that you might have applied which were successful?
So, we look at it from a very theoretical marketing perspective. My team always tells me that they hate me for doing it by a book language, because no one follows a book language that is taught in your MBA schools, but we still do that, which is everyone has studied a marketing funnel. It's wider at the top and the bottom is the shallowest one or the smallest one, right? We try and take the same approach when we launch a new product line, category or a brand in any new market. The brand that we work with or partner with is very transparently told on day one. If you are getting into a new market, you cannot expect sales on day one. That's not going to happen. So if you are willing and prepared to invest in the whole funnel and make sure that the funnel is getting built over the period of time which will give you the results, then we will present a plan in front of you and go ahead. And the simple focus at the top of the funnel is awareness. Sometimes there are some situations where we don't even need that. A recent post example is what I can remember at the top of my mind is, has everyone heard of A2 ghee right now?
Yeah.
The most trending thing in the market, the Vinola A2 ghee, right? The size of market in India is still evolving because it's a lot costlier than regular ghee in India. But in the US, it is a lot more evolved. Again, virality question, social media playing a vital role in telling the world that A2 ghee is the best ghee you need to buy. We have a brand based in Delhi. They manufacture A2 ghee here in India. We work with them in Indian market also. They sell, I think, I don't know, 10,000 bottles a month of A2 ghee, Amazon, Flipkart, all combined. We sell 30,000 bottles of ghee in the US. India business, A2 ghee was launched a year and a half ago. In US, we launched the same SKU 6 months ago, 6 to 8 months, between the 6 to 8 month range. And the clear differentiation is pre-existing demand. Customer does not care what the brand is. The customer only cares if it is Indian origin where A2 ghee was made and if it is in the right price point, because currently there is no other A2 ghee available on Amazon to buy in US. So they are just going to buy it. So you can ride on the wave on certain cases, but in a standard mechanism, you will have to build the funnel. There is no alternative. You have to put the money on awareness, build the brand equity, because you might, Himalaya is known in India. No one knows Himalaya in the other corner of the world. You go to Mexico and try and sell the Himalaya baby wash. They are not going to buy it. So you'll have to build that same story, established in 1930. The founder went to the jungle, found some herbs, create all of that story in front of the consumer. He will like it, and probably after he likes it, he'll respond back with the same theoretical method again, clicks, views, consideration, purchases, loyalty, the whole funnel gets completed.
Follow up on regulation and compliance, because international regulations, as you just said, that are very important. So can you share any example where your knowledge helped the client to overcome a complex compliance hurdle in cross-border e-commerce?
Okay, so let's take a neighboring country of ours, the most favorite country for Indians to go out and settle, UAE. Very open to the world, a lot of touristy destinations feel there, but regulation is insanely crazy. Every SKU, every product that you have to bring in that market has to go through an approval process with different departments. Food, cosmetics, beauty has to go through a certain department. Drugs, semi-drugs, OTC products have to go through a different department. Even things like consumer electronics have to be taken through a CE approval process only for UAE as a market. And the country is 80% import driven. They don't have anything apart from the natural oil that they found that is there. So they can't farm. There's not much resources to farm, so they can't grow a lot of vegetables. They can't manufacture a lot of things because raw material is naturally not available. So everything has to be imported in that country. When everything is imported, the first assumption that we had when we entered that country was, ये तो आसान होगा, सब कुछ तो बाहर से ही आता है तो हम भी कुछ भी लेके जाएंगे, कोई कुछ बोलेगा नहीं. But then when we went inside that, we figured out it is a nightmare. Has everyone heard of ashwagandha, right? Yes. Common ingredient, very popular. By the UAE law, ashwagandha in a potent format is banned to be sold or consumed in the UAE geography. It was so simple for us that ashwagandha tablets to Amazon pe #1 bestseller hai. We can just start importing. But then when we went through the process, we figured out, wow, this is a new problem to solve which you cannot solve. So you have to modify the formulation for that, which means you have to go back to the drawing board again, which means you have to request the brand, because we are not the manufacturers, we are just a reseller or a partner to help the brand grow in a specific market. So we go back to the brand and tell them, guys, your ashwagandha is not valid for UAE market, you have to figure out a solution. And then they come back and say, हाँ नया formulation बनाते हैं जो UAE के लिए comfortable है, but उसके लिए 10,000 bottle का MOQ, which means the project gets dropped right there. No one is doing 10,000 bottles of MOQ just for one new country because it's not going to sell. And even if you build that confidence, it's not easy to put the money on the table for a brand to bring that money and then say that, okay, I'll export it to UAE and then hopefully it sells in a year or so. So that's kind of a challenge that we go through. We figure out alternative solutions sometimes which are the most viable, still fitting in the bracket. In this ashwagandha case, fortunately, we were able to convince the brand, and the brand was able to convince their manufacturers to get a new formulation out, a new packaging out, but only do a 200 bottle MOQ as an experimental basis. And then we took the product. It took us 3-4 months to get regulatory approval, but when we took the product, after 4 months, it started selling. Because the product has demand, of course, but the only problem is regulatory framework, which is why competition is less. Everyone understands ROAS, right?
Return on
ROAS.
Return on ad spend.
Correct. Return on ad spend. In a simple, for e-commerce, ROAS is everything. That's your Bhagwan. You basically consider that God, because if your ROAS is good, you are doing good. If your ROAS is bad, you are bleeding money. For us, that's the simple math for us. That ashwagandha brand or that SKU specifically, we operate at a 5.5 ROS, and it's a year-old product. We launched it a year ago probably, and we are already at a 5.5 kind of an ROS, which is a lot better against any other industry standard. But the only thing we know we were able to do that exemplary job is competition नहीं है. बाकी लोगों को जिनको लेके आना है उनको 6 महीने लग जाते हैं लेके आने में, या तो वो ड्रॉप कर जाते हैं प्लान को, या तो वो पार्टनर ही नहीं ढूंढ पाते. So that's the catch that we use, and we just make sometimes success out of it. So easy catch, I would say that.
Now with this, can you say that, like, how do you decide which, which markets to tap on, or which country to go into? So what is the sort of thought process, or the, I would call it like a boardroom discussion that goes behind making a decision on the expansion strategies?
Primarily, it is all data driven for at least my company, to be precise, and the reason is, I was mentioning it to you guys before we came in this room on the lunch table, is we've grown the company very, very frugally. We were profitable on our financial year one returns when we started the company, and we are still profitable after 5.5 years. And our approach has been very the dhanna mentality, old-fashioned dhanna mentality. Unit economics have to work. If they don't work, we just don't go ahead. And that is why over the period of time we realized that the trust on data has to be over and above your trust on your gut feeling. Gut feeling is always good to have, but if data is saying against your gut feeling, please do that. Please don't go with your gut feeling even if the data is telling you not to do so. We made a few mistakes in our journey. We went into some countries where we could not, make a dent essentially. We went into a country where we had huge challenges, Malaysia. Language barrier, we have had language barriers in all other countries, but the language barrier that we faced in Malaysia was very, very different. We could not do anything, we could not find local resources who were trustworthy, we could not build a team on the ground. After a struggle of I think 9, 10, 11 months, we decided that let's park it aside and move to another country which is neighboring, but still will cater to Malaysia market, which was Singapore. So then we moved all the business, all the framework to Singapore. We got tax rebates because of that, of course, but then now we are able to sell the products in Malaysia, but shipping them from Singapore. I take 2 days to send the product to my customer, but I'm still not going through the regulatory framework or the language barriers. It is making a lot more easier for me, and the data was always telling us this. Initially, when we were sitting and making a decision to register a company in Malaysia, it was all against us, but our gut feeling was no, population इतना बड़ा है, buying power इतनी अच्छी है तो जाना चाहिए इस देश में. But actually, it proved the point that data is, lot more powerful than your gut feeling is. So that's where we stand.
That's why you are an Excel-driven company and no presentations.
Yeah, so that's why you guys don't have a presentation here today. We have a kind of informal policy for all the people that we have, except for our sales team. No one else has any presentations that they make. Not for internal board meetings, not for anything, not for investor meetings as well. Investor meetings presentations are in Excel format, to be precise. They are put onto a Word file from Excel tables, and then they are shown to investors and put into an email and sent across. Internal communications normally are also done that way only. Only the sales team who goes out and pitches to a brand follows the PPT. And the reason for that, I believe, is it becomes too much of a one-sided conversation. Someone is reading out a PPT and all others are listening. And at the last, everyone's having like, ठीक है, समझ में आया? नहीं आया भी नहीं तो अभी कोई option नहीं है, एक घंटे का meeting का start खत्म हो गया, so we'll talk later on after that. So that's why there is no PPT essentially for us.
And by technology and automation, they are the buzzwords. So how many tasks in your organizations are AI and how much of it is still like the human factor is more important than the AI?
So there are, I would put it at a very department level or a very structural level. If I have to put it at an overall level, we are 95 people in the organization, and 2023, we are a US based company, so we consider calendar year as a financial year. We did $345 million of revenue. So 95 people did $345 million of revenue only because we have technology at the back. So a bunch of the things are driven by technology where human intervention is not required, they happen on its own. But there is another side to it. 95 people are assigned as employees or part of the team, right? But then there are 197 people or 200 plus, I am assuming for now, who are working in our warehouses. The only difference is they are not our employees, they are a partner, a company, outsourced employment factor. That 200 people is the workforce who is the 15 touch points that we spoke about, getting the packet to your doorstep. Unfortunately, as of today, the only automation that we could put there is software. We have HST devices, which are the handheld devices to scan the barcodes. We have few other stuff which can help us automate things. But we've not reached the stage of robotics and automate the drawing board again, which means you have to request the brand, because we are not the manufacturers, we are just a reseller or a partner to help the brand grow in a specific market. So we go back to the brand and tell them, guys, your ashwagandha is not valid for UAE market, you have to figure out a solution. And then they come back and say, हाँ नया formulation बनाते हैं जो UAE के लिए comfortable है, but उसके लिए 10,000 bottle का MOQ, which means the project gets dropped right there. No one is doing 10,000 bottles of MOQ just for one new country because it's not going to sell. And even if you build that confidence, it's not easy to put the money on the table for a brand to bring that money and then say that, okay, I'll export it to UAE and then hopefully it sells in a year or so. So that's kind of a challenge that we go through. We figure out alternative solutions sometimes which are the most viable, still fitting in the bracket. In this ashwagandha case, fortunately, we were able to convince the brand, and the brand was able to convince their manufacturers to get a new formulation out, a new packaging out, but only do a 200 bottle MOQ as an experimental basis. And then we took the product, it took us 3-4 months to get regulatory approval, but when we took the product, after 4 months, it started selling. Because the product has demand, of course. But the only problem is regulatory framework, which is why competition is less. Everyone understands ROAS, right?
Return on
ROAS.
Return on ad spend.
Correct. Return on ad spend. In a simple, for e-commerce, ROAS is everything. That's your Bhagwan. You basically consider that God, because if your ROAS is good, you're doing good. If your ROAS is bad, you're bleeding money. For us, that's the simple math for us. That ashwagandha brand or that SKU specifically, we operate at a 5 to 5.5 ROAS. And it's a year-old product. We launched it a year ago probably, and we are already at a 5.5 kind of an ROAS, which is a lot better against any other industry standard. But the only thing we know we were able to do that exemplary job is competition नहीं है. बाकी लोगों को जिनको लेके आना है उनको 6 महीने लग जाते हैं लेके आने में, या तो वो ड्रॉप कर जाते हैं प्लान को, या तो वो पार्टनर ही नहीं ढूंढ पाते. So that's the catch that we use, and we just make sometimes success out of it. So easy catch, I would say that.
Now with this, can you say that, like, how do you decide which which markets to tap on or which country to go into. So what is the sort of thought process or I would call it like a boardroom discussion that goes behind making a decision on the expansion strategies?
Primarily, it is all data driven for at least my company, to be precise. And the reason is, I was mentioning it to you guys before we came in this room on the lunch table, is we've grown the company very, very frugally. We were profitable on our financial year one returns when we started the company, and we are still profitable after 5.5 years. And our approach has been very, the dhanda mentality, old-fashioned dhanda mentality. Unit economics have to work. If they don't work, we just don't go ahead. And that is why, over the period of time, we realized that the trust on data has to be over and above your trust on your gut feeling. Gut feeling is always good to have, but if data is saying against your gut feeling, please do that. Please don't go with your gut feeling even if the data is telling you not to do so. We made a few mistakes in our journey. We went into some countries where we could not, make a dent, essentially. We went into a country where we had huge challenges, Malaysia. Language barrier, we have had language barriers in all other countries, but the language barrier that we faced in Malaysia was very, very different. We could not do anything, we could not find local resources who were trustworthy, we could not build a team on the ground. After a struggle of I think 9, 10, 11 months, we decided that let's park it aside and move to another country which is neighboring but still will cater to Malaysia market, which was Singapore. So then we moved all the business, all the framework to Singapore. We got tax rebates because of that, of course, but then now we are able to sell the products in Malaysia but shipping them from Singapore. I take 2 days to send the product to my customer, but I'm still not going through the regulatory framework of the language barriers. It is making a lot more easier for me. And the data was always telling us this. Initially, when we were sitting and making a decision to register a company in Malaysia, it was all against us. But our gut feeling was, no, population इतना बड़ा है, buying power इतनी अच्छी है तो जाना चाहिए इस देश में. But actually, it proved us the point that data is, a lot more powerful than your gut feeling is. So that's where we stand.
That's why you are an Excel-driven company and no presentations.
Yeah, so that's why you guys don't have a presentation here today. We have a kind of informal policy for all the people that we have, except for our sales team. No one else has any presentations that they make. Not for internal board meetings, not for anything, not for investor meetings as well. Investor meetings presentations are in Excel format, to be precise. They are put onto a Word file from Excel tables and then they are shown to investors and put into an email and sent across. Internal communications normally are also done that way only. Only the sales team who goes out and pitches to a brand follows the mission. There will be more things that will be coming out in the market. Maybe we will not focus that much on it because our tech team is very small focus for us. But I wish that other companies do this and bring this information out because this is the real key factor which will map the supply-demand gap. What the customer wants and what the brand is offering is never 100% right. If AI can solve this problem, there will be always right products in the market which will fit the market, and the chance of you having a failure in your journey will be avoided or neglected to a largest extent.
So you're talking about capturing feedback. My next query is about data privacy. So you were also talking about GDPR regulations.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that your clients comply with data privacy regulations in different jurisdictions?
So it's a little vice versa for us. Normally the business model that we have makes it we being the seller on record, which means we are the invoicing company to the customer. We are the directly selling parties. The customer pays our company the money essentially, and we pay in turn after our margins to the brand from which the product came to us. So we are the ones liable for the data privacy issues. We are already going through a turmoil of information in our office as we speak for the last 3-4 months because we are starting our year of business, and to do that we have to comply with GDPR. Has anyone heard of GDPR?
Yes.
Okay, so read through it, please. Find out as much as you can, because when this topic will come on your desk in your corporate life journeys or in your entrepreneur journeys, it will eat up your head. It is a nightmare to solve. There are so many clauses that good European lawyers also cannot answer. We hired a Danish lawyer sitting in our Bangalore office full time, eating biryanis with us, but he's still not able to answer the questions for us because there are so many things that are kind of filling the blanks. the law is there, but it does not specify what happens in a situation like our businesses, because our business model was not there when the law was created. So there is a lot of loophole background problems there. But to be honest, as of today, what we do to make sure that the data privacy is maintained is security on our servers. We have a bunch of servers in different parts of the world. Whatever information that comes to us is locked and stored in remote servers in some deserts in the world. And there's only a few folks, and there's a whole, we call it data matrix. There's a data matrix that is established in the tech team also, who can access it at what level, what is the two-factor authentication, three-factor authentication and stuff like that. And there are some data points that are never accessible to anyone, even in the company, including me. And the reason we built it that way is to avoid any misuse, no matter what, and me falling into any problem. An example is, if I want to find out, let's say you both bought a sunscreen that we are selling on Amazon in India, and I want to find out that you two as names, individual names, did they buy from me? Unfortunately, I cannot. And as much as I wish to, I will never be able to find that out. So we built it that way across the world, so that when we get to this stage that we are today to comply with GDPR, the GDPR compliance guys will come and ask the same question, that you are complying in Europe but you are not in India, so I will not give you the license. So we wanted to make sure that that does not, don't land up in that situation, and that's why the ecosystem is created that way.
I think now we open the forum for the batch to ask questions.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for your precious words on global supply chain and e-commerce. So my question is, you mentioned that you were able to fulfill 50 orders for Holi in the new market within a month. So what were the steps and what was your approach? How you were able to achieve that?
Okay, it's going to give me a little nostalgia, I think, but fair. Both of us, there were only two people, two co-founders on the table when we were at this stage. And both of us took the decision to start because we wanted to deal with this challenge. And when we got the first 50 bottles of apple cider vinegar to sell on eBay, we figured out that the brand was doing a lot of good job on Instagram and Facebook. Not Instagram, I would say that it was Facebook. So they were doing a lot of fantastic ads on Facebook, which was telling about the weight loss situation, that why do you want to put your apple cider in a glass of water early morning and make your taste buds feel bad and stuff like that, right? We ride it on that wave essentially. What we did is, in the comment section, we tagged our eBay links, buy it here. We kept on tagging in their Facebook videos, putting an eBay link, buy the product here, and we kept on doing it multiple times. So even if there were 10 other comments, we were the number of comments. So we kept on doing it every 2-3 hours, irrespective of the hours of the day. We were in India at that point of time, so we used to stay awake the whole night. Every 2-3 hours, we used to put a comment with the link and put it, buy it on eBay at $19.99. And the price was same because we had a constraint to sell it at $19.99 because their Amazon price was $19.99. First week, did not work out. We were feeling like we were stupid, that we are doing something childish, just putting links on Facebook comments and no one is buying it. We actually made 2 or 3 sales. Then we went back and thought about what's the other option, what can we do, something else. And we figured out keyword optimization is a key factor. No matter what you do in the world, what people are searching, you're not mentioning that anywhere. You're saying apple cider vinegar gummies, good for weight loss. At the best, that is what the title was saying, and it was saying I think 60 gummies and something else. We figured out that what people are searching is not, they are not even searching for gummies. They don't even know that there is a gummy that exists. They are searching for apple cider vinegar. And in our title, it was apple cider vinegar gummies. So what we did is to remove the word gummies and put it in the description. We kept it out of the title, that way our ranking would improve. And it showed us some results. But it was still not satisfactory. Another iteration happened, and then we said people are searching for weight loss, let's find out the data on weight loss. Unfortunately, it was not the, again, that feeling बोल रहा था weight loss search कर रहे होंगे but नहीं कर रहे थे, लोग कुछ और ही search कर रहे थे. How to reduce weight, they were searching phrases, there were 9-10 word phrases on eBay that were getting searched. So what we did is, unfortunately you can't put a phrase in the listing, right? But you can put it in the comment. So we made a purchase ourselves, and then in the comment we put that as a phrase. That way the ranking still improved, and because the ranking improved, we started getting more sales, and then it worked out. So yeah, I would put it in a jugaad way. There's a lot more process now to do that. There's a lot more data sets that we have available. We have API integration with 19-20 marketplaces in the world now. So we get information to a lot of licensed data information, which gives us the right to make a good decision on day one, and we don't have to do this Facebook comment wala jugaad anymore.
Thank you.
Priyanka, can you just introduce yourself? So would request whenever you ask a question, please just introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Priyanka Kumari. I come from oil and gas background. I'm a petroleum engineer and currently pursuing the MBA here.
Hey, good afternoon, Mohit. First of all, my name is Shubham Mate. I come here after a little over 7.5 years of experience in the IT domain. Thank you for all the information that you shared. I have two questions. The first one is that what kind of margins are you operating on? And the second one is that do you see somewhere down the line selling something of your own brand? Because everyone usually does that, be it something sort of a private label, depending on where the margins are, obviously I know that. But do you have some sort of plan?
I'll answer both of them. Let me take the first one, the margin question. Our margins are as low as 5% in some cases, and as high as 40-45% also in some cases. 40-45% also. It depends on regions, categories, subcategories, what type of model we are into. Are we doing an outright model or are we doing a SOR model? There's a complexity of network around it. Basis that we decide our margins. The sales team makes a pick between the chart of which margin is the right fit. So that's the margin question. Second, about making a private label brand. My founder, she had a private label brand, so we come from that background. We know the journey there. We know the pain and the sleepless nights that go into that. So we are not going to do that. That is one reason, because we've been through that already. The second reason is, have you guys heard of Thrasio? Yes. Anyone has heard of Thrasio? So Thrasio was the world's first brand aggregator. They are based in US. They are the company who buys out small brands or medium-sized brands and then makes a house of brands. Like 10 private label brands brought into one umbrella and then scaled further. The founder of Thrasio is part of our board of directors. The one lesson that we learned when we first met him essentially was that we will never make a brand of our own. And we will never become an aggregator of our own for the complexity of how it works. And second is, it is not a complementing skill but a competition skill to what we are doing. Today, we call ourselves a brand partner, which means we are the friend of the brand manager who is helping them grow the revenue. If I create my own brand, I'm going to compete with them and I'm going to make that brand manager into an enemy, not into a friend, which will kill my existing business. And it will never make sense for us to have that. So we have an internal documentation around this where we mentioned that there will be two things that we will never do. One is the technology that we build for ourselves. We will never sell that as a SaaS, anyone, ever. Unless we get acquired, of course. After that, if someone else wants to do it, that's their call. And the second is we will never acquire or create our own brand. And that's for the same reason that we want to protect what we built and keep on building on this ahead of time.
Thank you.
Hi, Mohit, my name is Shobhit, and first of all, thank you so much for spending time with us. So, in the initial discussion you were mentioning about the comparing personal care versus, apparels, and you mentioned that, I thought you mentioned that the CAC for personal care is low because usually people cannot or don't return products, right? But I thought the same thing can act as a barrier for people to even try new brands, right? Which is not the case with apparels. For example, if I see a new brand which I've never heard in India, then I'm skeptical about trying that, right? Because I cannot return it. So what did you do to, help people overcome that barrier, or what was your strategy?
Perfect. Thank you, Shobhit, for that. So, a simple max for the CAC that I mentioned is not a CAC on year level or a quarter level. A CAC over the period of a brand's journey. So, I'll give you an example. Have you guys heard of this brand called as Love Planet Beauty?
Yes.
Who is the owner of the brand? Anyone? The brand is owned by Unilever. Hindustan Unilever. That's where the problem is. No one cares. No one cares who is the manufacturer or the owner. Everyone cares about the story. Love Planet Beauty was launched in 2008. Miserably failed. They spent, I think, 19 crore rupees on a TV campaign. At that point of time, there was Star Plus and I think Sony. 19 crore rupees of TV advertisements and other money that was spent on multiple media campaigns. Nothing happened. Because it was too ahead of time. They shut it down. Few years back, they just relaunched. They had a trademark, they had the product, they just changed the formulation, changed the packaging, put flowers on it, made it more fancier to appeal to the newer generation. And they still burnt money for the first 2 years, which means their CAC was very bad. But today, they have the most amazing CAC because once the first money that they spend, which is the risk that you take, right, to convince the customer that buy my product, give it a try, because your marketing campaigns are that much influential, it will, over the period of time, reap you benefits. They spend only 9% of their revenue in marketing, which is lowest of any Unilever brand. Only Surf Excel is the one that spent lower than that in the Unilever portfolio. Love Planet Beauty is the biggest success story that is being there in the Unilever ecosystem right now. So, CAC is low over a period of a brand's life cycle, which is 10, 20, 15, whatever years it might be. But if you look at it from a short-term goal, you will lose money in this category. And that is why every D2C brand out there, if you see, name any brands that are there. There is Mosaic Wellness out there in the market, there is Oziva. Every brand that has come in the health personal care industry initially, for that matter Mama Earth. Everyone knows what the story is and how much they are being trolled for the losses that they do. The reason is they do losses to build an equity so that the repeat happens, so that the availability happens, and over the period of time they will make money out of it. They will not be able to make money out of it on day one because this is something that gets applied on your body, on your skin, goes inside your stomach. So people are a lot more sensitive to this. When people are a lot more sensitive to this, they tend to take a lot more time to make a purchase decision, which means you will have to spend more money on marketing. Simpler maths. And that is why initially they will burn money, but at an aggregate overall level, it will reduce to a very, very large extent.
But then a lot of companies also fail also, right? I mean, they do a lot of promotions, but then they somehow just cannot get that customer base. Right? So can we say, like, for instance, the example you gave, initially they couldn't, but then they could. What's the difference you could say? What's the prime difference?
So when Love Beauty Planet came in 2008-9, right, they were too early in the market. The type of product that they were trying to sell, argan oil shampoo for 600 rupees in 2008, it's too much for Indian customers. No one is going to pay 600 rupees for a 200 ml bottle shampoo. Today, people are paying 3,000 rupees for a 200 ml shampoo. So the economy evolves, the people evolve, the technology evolves. Their ads are very simple. To be very honest, if you see their Instagram ad, it is very, very simple. But at the same time, it is very appealing. For a customer who's seeing that ad, he feels that this product is made for me. It's that appealing language which makes me confident that okay, this is something that I can spend my 600 on, give it a try. And if the product is good, which is the biggest bottom line that we should never forget in personal care and healthcare categories, the CAC will remain low and your chance of success is high if your product is actually a good product. If you are trying to sell something radhi, you will only do sampling for a certain period of time, you will get 10% repeat and then you will shut down your shop and you will have to go back home. But if your product actually has a good formulation, it really works on the consumer, what claims you are making, that claims are really valid, then it will make sense. There's another example brand for you guys to go ahead and read about for the question that you asked is Traya. Traya, T-R-A-Y-A. It's a hair care brand, very, very young brand technically. Same logic, very young brand but solving a very precise problem of hair loss across the country, a biggest topic right now. But what they are doing is they first created a product, they spent money in R&D for a year and a half. Then they came up with 3 SKUs and then they started marketing. Now they are even spending 10%, they will still get repeat because the product itself does the job. And then there is word of mouth which will do rest of it for them. Yeah. Thank you, Shobhi.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Rishikesh. I have about 5 years of experience in the automobile supply chains. So my question is regarding a certain news that I heard recently that UPS and Amazon, they're focusing on trying to build 3D printing technologies where they can print items as they're transporting them. So basically they don't have to hold inventory. So I want to know your thoughts on this and how you think whether this will come to pass and how would we deal with such a situation.
I would put it in a beta mode for now. The reason is not every category fits in that bucket. There's only going to be a bunch of categories that will fit into that bracket where customer places an order and then you're going to print it while it is on the way. And the other problem that this industry or this project might face is delivery timelines. Everyone wants it fast everywhere in the world now. There was initially when Amazon Flipkart came in India, they were saying 5 days, 4 days delivery. Then Amazon came up with Prime in India saying same day delivery, 2 days initially. Then they say 1 day. Now they are saying same day delivery. Then you have this quick commerce guys, Zepto, 10 minutes में order करो घर पे पहुंच जाएगी सब्जी आलू जो भी चाहिए वो. How are you going to 3D print everything in 12 hours or 6 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours? That's going to be a huge constraint to figure out which is the SKU that might fit into that bracket and go through the rigorous quality checks which a brand standard should need. Because if it's a vehicle, in that vehicle there is a 3D printing happening and directly that is going to get delivered to the customer. Who will do the QC? The delivery boy can never do the QC. So it will happen probably, but very minimal chance of it happening only on a certain set of SKUs. Right?
Maybe at a warehouse level perhaps.
So it can, that technology smartly can be used in a different way. I would put it that way is to do the 3D printing of things that are day-to-day use, which means cardboard box like things, a packaging material, or something like a barcode scanner, which is after 4 hours if you get 3D printed out of it, there you can wait for 3-4 hours for it. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. There's one more question.
Hi Mohit, thank you for your sharing your experience with us. My name is Vidit Rawat. I have 6 years of experience in supply chain management. My question is, when you are dealing with global supply chain management, so having a robust network of payments, it's very crucial. So how your organization is making the payments streamlined within the global supply chain network, and what are the challenges that you might face in this?
So, to put it in a nutshell, there are multiple ways. We have to go through a regulatory framework for sure for the payment to happen. That is why we need a local entity in each of the countries wherever we want to sell the goods. That's the primary roadblock that we have. Which is why whenever we enter a new country, it normally takes us months before we are even able to say to the world that we are operational in this country, because compliance makes it mandatory for us to accept payments in local currency and the money has to flow in the local bank account. I can't bring the money from India to US and vice versa. I have to collect the money for US dollars in US bank account, Indian rupees in Indian bank account. We normally have a buffer in our margin ratios. The question that your colleague asked me earlier about the margin situation, right? For the margin situation, this is one of the factors that is also part of the calculation, where if we are dealing into export business, we normally create a buffer of currency fluctuation. So if there is a essential fall or growth of currency, for that, considering whatever the data is available with us, we consider a 0.5% fluctuation in currency differentiation, so that when we buy and sell the product further to the customer, we don't lose money in the currency conversion from rupee to dollar or dollar to rupee or euro to rupee or anything of that sort. We have multiple payment partners. As of today, we work with almost every payment gateway. Your PayPal, your Stripe, your Razorpay, your CC Avenues, every possible payment partner that is there in the world who's top of the list, we have them onboarded with us, their APIs and integrated with us. When the brand that comes to us to sell through us, basically, let's say Love Planet Beauty for that example, right? When they say that I want to sell my shampoo in US, we give them an offering that these are the payment gateways, this is what they offer, you guys decide what you want, we have every one of them. Whichever you think is the best, we will choose, or we can suggest you which is the best one. So if we are in US, I will say that put Stripe and PayPal both. Because a lot of the people there use PayPal, they have money in PayPal wallet, so they can use PayPal. But whoever is using credit and debit card, they can use Stripe. So I'm giving them two options, and that is my suggestion that way. But yeah, overall margin plays the crucial factor for us in the currency fluctuation. We face sometimes a lot of heat. A recent example would be we were selling in Egypt until the war broke out, and then we pulled the plug on Egypt because the cost of procuring the goods against selling it in Egypt right now is such a nightmare that no matter what calculation we do, we can't make money. At one point of time, every 7 days we were revising our purchase price and selling price. Even after that, it was not giving us profits. So we just had to say, sorry, let the war finish, let it settle down, and then we'll evaluate Egypt after that. So yeah, that's how it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so on closing the session, Mohit, just some few last words to the batch. You've also been through an MBA journey and now you have maybe been on that side. So anything you want to tell the batch?
Enjoy whatever you have thoroughly for now. That's the bottom line of it. I don't know how the curriculum here works. For me, it was bad. I had situations to deal with. Our classes, unfortunately, some of our classes used to happen at 12 midnight because we were all mandatory on campus. So everyone had the liberty to set up a lecture at 12 in the midnight, and we had to go for a 12 midnight lecture. For that matter, our EP sessions, training and placement sessions, students were sitting on that in the veranda on the queue, and I was shell-shocked for the first time that there are HOL and PhD guys in the campus, and they are doing interviews till 3 AM in the morning, and no one is backing off. Not the students are backing off, not the faculty, nor the guys from outside. Everyone is sitting in the queue and waiting for people to get interviewed and find if they get a job offer letter. But that's how the journey is. I hope it is the same for you. If it is not, please, sir, let them get the juice out of them, so when they get into the corporate world, when we pressurize bosses like us who are always called too much pressure to put on, you will be used to it. The best thing that I learned out of that curriculum was the odd hours make you figure out that you're flexible enough. You don't put yourself in a bracket. Very big advantage. When you go in a corporate world as an employee, as an entrepreneur, startup, you can't have yourself put into a bracket. That's not possible. If you put yourself in a bracket, you're restricting your own growth. Be prepared for that. If you have that mindset, when you come out of graduation, everyone has that. Even I had. मैं तो 9 to 5 करूँगा, मेरे को सैलरी मिलेगी, मैं घर जाऊँगा, मेरे को क्या फर्क पड़ता है LNT कमा रही है या नहीं कमा रही है? I don't care, I get my salary. But then after the MBA that I figured out, it is vice versa. LNT तो पैसा बना ही रही है, तुम काम करो या नहीं करो वो तो पैसा बनाएंगे. तुमको अगर कुछ करना है तो you have to get out of that bracket. The guys who made LNT are LNT because they went out of the bracket. So that is what I think MBA will teach you. For sure, there is no denial to that. But the other big factor that you guys need to understand, everyone, I think you guys have an amazing batch profile with so much experience on it, is when you get out there, the role that you are choosing, choose it wisely. Figure out what you need first for yourself. If that is a corporate role, what is the job description? Understand it, because once you commit to it, there is no going back, and it's not the right thing. It's not a good practice to say no later on, right? So when you read the job descriptions, if you have 10 questions, ask it to the interview. They are not going to say what question पूछता है इसको job नहीं देंगे. वो खुश होगा कि ये question पूछ रहा है मतलब he has got the curiosity. That curiosity from each one of us needs to come out. If we show that there is a curiosity, if we show that there is a zeal, the chance of you getting the job in that interview increases multifold. I was telling your colleagues earlier today that we are a very young company that way, right? We are very small in size also. We can't do campus interviews and we can't go to a campus drive and sit and hire 50 people. That's not going to fit for us. But we are still getting there by doing small experiments. We hired some graduates. Now we have hired some IIM Bangalore and I think Wellinger and some other institute MBAs for a internship. And next step will be for us to hire some more students directly out of their batch. But at every stage of this experiment that we are doing internally, all of us internally are very clear that there is only one parameter for us to judge to hire a candidate for an internship or a full-time role is the zeal. If that zeal is not there, you can have 10 degrees on your resume. It's worth nothing. You need to have that zeal, you need to have that attitude कि मैं तो करके दिखाऊंगा या मैं कर लूँगा, whatever it that might be for that relevant role, if you have that zeal on the conversation that you are having with the interviewer, you have a deal right there. Yeah, that's all.
On behalf of the XLRI GMP 24 batch, I extend our sincerest gratitude to Mohit Gadam for gracing us with his invaluable presence and sharing his valuable insights. Mohit, your expertise and experience have enriched our understanding of the complexities and the opportunities in global e-commerce. We are truly honored to have had the opportunity to learn from your journey and glean insights from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you once again for your time and contributions. Thank you. I will now request Professor Salingi to present the memento to Mohit.
Thank you so much.